Good evening and welcome to the State of Business on our television. I am Chavika Samarasinghe. Let's have a look at the headlines. President dresses down nations reneging on climate financing. The UN expands its humanitarian needs and priorities plan. News in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe yesterday dressed down developed nations that have reneged on their climate financing contributions. The president did so while addressing the COP27 climate change conference in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt.
It is no secret that climate financing has missed the target. It's ironic that the $100 billion pledged annually have not been available in the coffers to finance climate challenges, as many developed nations deem it fit to renege on their climate financing contributions. These countries, who are also on both sides of the Ukraine war, seem to have no qualms spending for a war which will finally exceed $350 billion, a conflict waged purportedly for security interests of the combatants. The only security at stake is food insecurity, exacerbated to levels not experienced before the war. Many living both in the developed and the developing world are outside the scope of three meals a day. It is estimated that between 30 to 40 million people are being driven into hunger, especially in Africa. This war has also resulted in the upward spiraling cost of living, shortages of oil and gas supplies, and it has brought the fight against hunger to our homes. Expectedly, it has led to the curtailing of much required climate financing pledged by these very same countries. The issue we have is not of finding the party responsible for the war, but the party that will end the war.
Speaking further, President Wickremesinghe highlighted why the developing world needs this funding. The president pointed out that unbridled industrialization by nations that pillage Asia and Africa is a root cause behind climate change.
Why do we need this funding? It is known fact that the practice of colonialism transferred the rich resources of Asia and Africa to Europe and were used to industrialize their countries. We became poor from this plunder. This unbridled industrialization of the developed economies is also the root cause of climate change, the consequence of which we, the poor countries, are forced to suffer. Our problems are augmented due to the absence of adequate funding. Therefore, those in South are facing a double jeopardy, struggling to develop economically while fighting to protect the living standards of our population. It is therefore imperative that the developed countries deliver on their pledges in Glasgow by doubling their funding. Adding insult to injury, damages caused by extreme weather conditions are increasing and their impact exceedingly costly. Considering the failure of the developed world in bringing about the much-discussed relief, it is proposed that before we get to Dubai for COP28, like-minded nations should meet at ministerial level to discuss the way forward on all aspects of climate financing. This should be followed with the meeting of the heads of government of these countries on the margins of COP28 to display a collective frame of mind to stave off calamity.
President Wickremesinghe also discussed the need to develop capacity needed to face and overcome the climate challenge. Towards achieving this end, the president proposed establishing a university dedicated to furthering the study of the field while developing capacity.
The lack of capacity is the biggest obstacle to the implementation of climate action plans. Therefore, capacity building is vital in this regard. To overcome this obstacle, we propose to establish an international climate change university in Sri Lanka with an ancillary institute in Maldives that will be the first of its type. This seat of learning can be a transdisciplinary global center for green and blue studies for scientists, environmentalists, researchers, policymakers, development practitioners, and of course, students the world over to interchange knowledge, transcending national and disciplinary boundaries. The envisaged Climate Change University will offer both short-term courses and postgraduate academic awards to build capabilities on the mitigating and adapting to climate change. The university will also expedite the skills of the new generations to deliver the political, economic, social, cultural and digital transformation required to prevent a 1.5 centigrade world. It would be the vehicle to enlighten climate change challenges and prospects domestically. The collaboration of multilateral institutions and organizations such as the Commonwealth, World Bank and the ADB, amongst others, will be sought for the establishment of the Institute of Higher Learning, making it a multi-stakeholder partnership transcending national boundaries.
Stay tuned. We will return after this commercial break. Welcome back. The UN team in Sri Lanka and non-governmental organizations yesterday revised and extended their joint humanitarian needs and priorities plan. This plan aims to provide life-saving assistance to 3.4 million people affected by the worst economic crisis since independence. Since June, the Humanitarian Needs and Priorities Plan has been responding to the government's request for UN-backed multi-sector support for debt, food and medicine shortages. Governments and donor agencies have helped the humanitarian community reach over 1 million of the country's most vulnerable people with cash, food, school meals, medicine, protection, and livelihood support. The Humanitarian Needs and Priorities Plan revision extends the plan through 2022 and requires $70 million in additional funds to reach a total of $149.7 million. This extended appeal is in response to the humanitarian community's updated estimates on the number of people in need across all 25 of Sri Lanka's districts. It will improve nutrition for children, pregnant women, and breastfeeding mothers, secure safe drinking water, and protect vulnerable farming and fishing households. With a poor harvest forecast for 2023 and food inflation at 85.6% in October 2022, many Sri Lankans are struggling. 28% of the population, or 6.3 million people, face moderate to severe acute food insecurity. According to the World Bank's 2022 Development Update, the poverty rate rose from 13.1% to 25.6% between 2021 and 2022. Parliamentarian Partli Champika Ranawaka, speaking in Parliament yesterday, expressed that the Sri Lankan economy faces collapse as the government is selling fuel at well above the market rate. Parliamentarian Ranawaka pointed out the immense negative impact that this has had on mobility and economic activity.
වෙන වචන වලින් කියනවා නම් පෙට්‍රල් ඩීසල් භූමිතෙල් භාවිතාව හරියටම 50%කින් අඩු වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒක මේ රටේ ආර්ථිකයට ඉතාම නරක විදිහට බලපාලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම මේ මෑත කාලේ මාධ්‍ය වාර්තා කළා තෙල් විකිණීමෙන් 2022 වර්ෂයේ පළවෙනි මාස 8 ඇතුලේ ආදායම ලැබුණයි කියලා බිලියන 956ක් ඒ මුදල් රාජ්‍ය ඇමතුමත් ඉන්නවා. ඒ වගේම තෙල් ආනයනය සඳහා ගිය මිල රුපියල් වලින් ගණන් ගත්තොත් බිලියන 357යි කියලා. 357ක් ආනයනයට ගියා විකුණුලා ගත්තා 956ක්. මේක දැක්කම මට විශ්වාස කරන්න අමාරුයි. වෙන වචන වලින් කියනවා නම් බිලියන 600ක පමණ ඉතුරුවක් මේ පළවෙනි මාස 8 දී තෙල් වලින් ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. මේකෙන් 513ක් ගියයි කියනවා ණය ගෙවන්න. නමුත් අපි එකක් මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ වෙළඳපොළ මිලට වඩා ඉතා අධික මිලකට තෙල් විකිණීමෙන් වෙන්නේ මොකද්ද? තෙල් භාවිතාව අර මං කිව්වා වගේ අඩු වෙලා ආර්ථිකය කඩා වැටෙන තැනට ගමන් කිරීම පමණයි. ඒ වගේම මේ තෙල් මිල බලපානවා විදුලි බිලට. විදුලි බිල අද 75%කින් වැඩි කළා. නමුත් මේ ඇත්ත තෙල් මිල එනවා නම් විදුලි බිල මීට වඩා අඩු කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ මගින් ආර්ථික ක්‍රියාකාරීත්වය වැඩි කරන්න පුළුවන් කියන එක මේ අවස්ථාවේ මම ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා.
Speaking further, Parliamentarian Ranawaka stressed the importance of building confidence in the Sri Lankan government with measured policies. He maintains that this is vital in managing the contraction of the economy and its consequences.
පොලි අනුපාතවල තත්ත්වයත් ඒකයි. දැන් නොවැම්බර් 10 වෙනිදා භාණ්ඩාගාර බිල්පත් දාලා තියෙනවා. දැනට ආණ්ඩුවේ තීරණයක් නැතිකමින් අතීරණයේ විසින් දේශීය ණය ප්‍රතිව්‍යුහගත කරනවාද නැද්ද කියන අතීරණයේ විසින් ආයෝජකයෝ වෙළඳපොළ විසින් මේ භාණ්ඩාගාර බිල්පත්වල පොලිය 35-40 දක්වාම වැඩි කරගෙන යනවා. ඒ නිසා මේ ගැන නිශ්චිත තීරණයක් අරගෙන වෙළඳපොලේ ස්ථිර විශ්වාසය දිනා ගැනීමට කටයුතු කරන්නයි කියලා මම ආණ්ඩුවට ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා. ඒ වගේම අද ජාත්‍යන්තර විශ්ලේෂකයන්ට අනුව 2021 ඩොලර් බිලියන 89ක් වෙච්ච ලංකා ආර්ථිකය ලබන වසරේදී ඩොලර් බිලියන 66ට වැටෙනවා. අතර මේ 89 උනේත් ඩොලරය රුපියල් 203 තියාගෙන ව්‍යාජයක් කරපු නිසා. ඒක නිසි අගය ලැබුණා නම් ඒකේ අගය 89 නෙවෙයි 55යි. ඒ නිසා මතක තියාගන්න 2025 දී ඩොලර් බිලියන 120ක ආර්ථිකයක් හදන්න ගිය රටක් ඩොලර් බිලියන 60කින් ඒ කියන්නේ 150කින් රටේ ආර්ථිකය සංකෝචනය වෙමින් පවතින බව අපි තේරුම් ගත යුතුයි. එහෙමනම් අපි සැලසුම් සහගත විදියටවත් මේ සංකෝචනය අපිට වළක්වන්න බැරි නම් මේ කුඩා වීම අපිට වළක්වන්න බැරි නම් අපි මේක සැලසුම් සහගත විදියට සිදු කරගත යුතුයි. විශේෂයෙන්ම සමාජ බලපෑම පිළිබඳව ලෝක බැංකු වාර්තාවක් නිකුත් කරලා තියෙනවා. දුප්පත්කම වැඩිවීම ගැන, විරකියාව වැඩිවීම ගැන, ආදායම් අහිමිවීම ගැන ඒ ගැන අවධානයක් ඇතුව ආණ්ඩුව ක්‍රියා කළ යුතුයි.
Stay tuned for the stock update. Welcome back. Trading at the Colombo Stock Exchange ended on positive notes today. The all-share price index gained 25.73 points to close at 8,293.5, and the S&P SL20 gained 22.75 points to close at 2,541.58. The turnover was 0.8 billion rupees and over 39 million shares were traded. Up next are forex rates. That's all our news for today. For this and more, subscribe to our channel on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. Take care and good night.